I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, August the 30th. We've had a day to absorb the announcement that said that Secretary Senator Perdue directed USDA Packers and Stockyards to go in and investigate collusion, price fixing, gouging, everything that ensued after the fire at the Tyson facility in Holcomb, Kansas. I think that's a great deal. That's what we've been wanting. And we didn't seem like everybody was as excited as your producers were. This was a grassroots push to get this investigation started. Started at your smaller county cattlemen's associations, active people just within the industry locally, calling the next highest person up to see what they could do. Finally landed with your state cattlemen's associations, and they're the ones that ended up getting it done. But you know, your nationwide associations did come in with support for it, so it's a good deal. It's almost like which never happens anymore, your Democrats and Republicans all voting one way or the other, voting together, which you don't see that very often. So it was good to see that everybody joined together on that, although nobody really took credit because they really couldn't, because they're not the ones that got it done. It was your grassroots outfits and more local and state that got the deal done. But it's going to get done. I think we need to be positive about that. Talked to a lot of people about it on Thursday. I think everybody is kind of positive, and those that aren't need to get that way. If you're just going to whine and bitch about every deal that comes along, and oh, that's not going to change anything, nothing's going to happen, well, nothing will happen. But I think we need to say, hey, we're glad that the system is working. We've got an investigation here. A blind man could find the collusion, the price gouging and fixing and everything that goes in. So let them find it, and then we'll see if there's any prosecution. It seems like we're in the day and time where we do these investigations. Costs money to do them. They do them in Washington, D.C., all over. We have these big investigations. We find guilt and no prosecution. And up there in the FBI and in the Congress and all that, I think it's kind of professional courtesy that they don't end up penalizing the people. But here in the good old agriculture field, I think we should find a place that they'll probably find some stuff, and they'll probably fine them. The fine won't be near as much as what they made, so the packing plants, processing facilities will be more than happy to pay it and go on down the road. But it'll be another proof of what they've done, and it should be kind of shame them a little bit. And whether or not it'll straighten anything out, I don't think it would go as far as trying to do something to break up the monopoly. That would take a whole lot more than what we're looking at. But still, we can get a little bit of a satisfaction out of this investigation, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they find. I hope it comes out quick enough that everybody is still fresh on it and still has those open wounds from what it cost them and what it did to the industry, and how vulnerable that we are whenever the results come out. Not sure, have any idea how long it could be before we hear something on that. But hopefully the sooner the better, and it could maybe cause your producers, your cattle feeders, to get together a little bit and maybe join forces and try to get things more like what they want them than just kind of laying down and taking it all the time. But look at your board on Thursday. August live cattle futures getting right close to maturity here, up 57 cents at 105.65. It spurred about 14 deliveries to be tendered in Syracuse, Kansas. Some people there in southwest Kansas think, hey, they're only bidding me 103 or 104 at the most. I'd take some of that 105.65, and it costs about $1.50 to deliver most people, so we're right there. So that's what keeps your your live cattle contract together right now. Of course, we've talked about maybe looking at changing that, trying to make it run a little tighter all the time and promote some longs to want to get in, whereas now that they all start to jump and ship before it ever gets close to maturity, which kills your spot to cash market. But hasn't been done yet, and we're still working with the ways. I'll tell you how old that contract is. Those are not 48 or 50,000 pound loads. They're 40,000 pound loads, because that's how much you could haul on a train back whenever they made all those rules. So that's how antiquated the specs are on that live cattle CME contract. But October live cattle futures up 60 cents at 99.80. August feeder cattle unchanged, and it's just right there at maturity, and it's coming right in there tight with CME cash feeder cattle index at 138.75. It's going off. So that's where it ended up. Now we get into September, it's over $5 less than that, and that's why people aren't getting excited about diving into these calves with all 4 feet. But September up 55 cents at 133.40. Your fat cattle trade, we had a little bit more trade, and probably have about cleaned up the northern plains by now. Southern plains has traded a little bit in Kansas, 103 to 104, but Texas hasn't traded anything, and we're still got cattle to sell, and your plants are putting out that they're all full, and when we get back from Labor Day, that's what everybody's going to talk about. So those packers are going to say we don't need any cattle, and a lot of your feedlots are going to admit that they've got a lot of market-ready cattle coming, and will have for the next couple of months. And that's just the way we've known it was coming. It is coming. Not going to be a lot of leverage. That's another reason you got to hope something comes out of this investigation, because it might hold things together a little bit, but the packers might not be quite so bold to try to take all the market position away. But we're not going to be able to hold ground very well, especially since nobody ever asks any more for their cattle. If you don't price those cattle up there higher, how would you ever get it? How would you ever hold the market when you come back, acting like you just love to have what you got last week, and then you end up taking $2 or $3, $4 less? That's kind of what we did this week. But the Northern Plains, Iowa, 5,900 head confirmed on Thursday. Nebraska, over 9,000 head confirmed. Selling Iowa, of course, they're looking for those really high quality cattle, and up until the last several weeks ago, before that for several months, we had our grading running so good that your packers got used to having a lot of that prime product, and they got to selling it, and they're making a lot of money off that. They'd like to have some more of it, can't find it very well, and so they're going into Iowa, some of those farmer feeders that don't necessarily feed for efficiency but feed for quality, and they are giving those guys $1 or $2 more here and there. But Iowa live sales 107 to 109, dress sales from 170 to 175. Nebraska a lot the same, but not getting quite the tippy top prices there. Most of their trades from 106 to 108. That's like $1 to $3 lower. And that's what your Southern Plains is probably going to be, $2 to $3 lower. But your dress sales in Nebraska, 170 to 175. Late in the day, they did trade a lot of cattle at 173 and 106 in Nebraska. But Kansas, we've talked, they've been trading some 103, 104. That'd be $2 to $3 lower. Colorado traded at 104. Box beef cutout values, we've still seeing choice back up and get back down there out of the stratosphere, but at the same time your select's going the other way, and it's a little bit confusing here. We're still in the end of your summer here, and then we've got a lot of tailgating and stuff coming up, and your grilling should be the most popular thing, which usually has your choice select spread widening, but it got so wide that it's starting to come back together. But choice cuts on Thursday afternoon, $232.19, down 77 cents, and selects were up 97 cents at $212.78. Now we got that Choice Select spread, $19.41. And another light movement is a lot of those beef purchasers that just kind of threw up their hands in disgust of what happened to them over the last 2.5, 3 weeks, and they're not buying anything and probably won't get back into the market till after Labor Day. But your slaughter, 465,000 through Thursday. That's 3,000 more than last week's big kill, and but 13,000 less than the same week a year ago. And we've been talking Saturdays when they have the opportunity to catch up with that plant still down in Finney County. They'll have another big Saturday and catch up and probably surpass that year ago figure. Your actual slaughter information come back for the week ending August 17th. Your average dressed steer weight's at 881 pounds. That's 3,000 more than the previous report, but still 5 pounds less than the same week a year ago. So our weights are increasing, we're not as current. We've got a lot of cattle that are going to be ready for slaughter, hitting the market here, like I talked, over the next couple of months. And we don't want to get in a bind. We don't want to get behind. They got to continue to aggressively market these cattle and try to hold the market as good as they can while they're doing it. But you can't get behind, and then you just have no options there but just to take dollars and dollars and less every single week. But let's look at some other things going on. Cargill made an announcement this week that they are opening a plant up, a former dairy plant. It's up in Minnesota, Dawson, Minnesota. They went in there and spent $75 million fixing that plant up to produce plant-based meat substitutes, and that's Cargill. So like we said before, these packers are not necessarily your friend. They like money, and they're not going to give up any of their protein portion that they've been getting. And so they're going in there, and Tyson's got some plant-based or maybe even cell-cultured products that are coming out before too long. They're wanting to maintain their piece of the pie too. And they're going to get their money, they're going to get their protein share, whether it helps your animal agriculture producers or not. But so that's just more of the way we're going on this thing, and I still don't think we're doing near enough to try to fight against this, or at least try to hold our own and advertise what we're doing. There's been a lot of negative media on this fake meat here in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and you still, every other commercial, especially now that football started, if you guys are seeing them too, keep going on about how delicious those disgusting Impossible burgers are, the Gaines burgers I call them. You'll have a commercial come out talking about how wonderful the Gaines burgers are, and then the next commercial is Blue Buffalo dog food, and they're bragging about how much meat it has in there because they don't want their pets eating any of that fake stuff. They want their pets to have real meat, yet they're going to eat the dog food. So if you think people have not lost their mind, just look at that. And we've had academia, a professor from University of California, say that the ingredients and the processing of that fake meat is the same as dog food. And people just tickle to death to eat it, and it's unbelievable. But let's talk about some other things going on. I'm not going to have another report here until after Labor Day, so the next report will be Tuesday. A sale that's going to have a big sale on Tuesday is Four State Stockyards in Exeter, Missouri. Talked to those guys. They got 3,000 head plus for Tuesday. Right after Labor Day there, we got 25 loads of yearlings. It's a big yearling special there at Four State Stockyards, Exeter, Missouri. Don't miss that sale on Tuesday. Your markets on Thursday, your real-time index on Cattle Market Central, late in the day on Thursday at 139.40, up 62 cents, mainly because of Mocan livestock in Butler, Missouri. We know that they've been known to blow up the index. They did it back this spring. selling cattle just, 20 bucks over what the market was at the time. It was in a lot of that mess that was going on, but people needed cattle. They had some really good cattle in there. They've done it again, although we're not really on hard times like we were back then. But your market was kind of steady, weak, and most of your bigger sales, for the most part, a lot of the cattle going into the index were going to be. But Mocan had one of their specials and kind of blew it up again, and that increased your index, and you'll see that show up whenever your CME Cash Feeder Cattle Index finally catches up. But look at your big sales on Thursday. Pratt, Kansas, winter livestock in Pratt, 3,400 head, pretty good size sale there. Feeder steers, $3 to $5 lower. Your feeder heifers kind of unevenly steady. Farmers and ranchers livestock in Salina, Kansas, similar type run, about 3,500 head for them. They called feeder steers $1 to $3 higher. Feeder heifers steady to $3 lower. Look at this Cattle Market Central automated report here out of Farmers and Ranchers, and you see your best tested weights, and that's all the cattle that are in those. 831 head of 7-weight steers, average 752 at 148.58. That's up $1.30 compared to the previous week's weighted average on those. 1,146 head of 8-weight steers at Salina, averaged 855 at 138.47, and that was down about $1.14 there. You look at some heifers, 369 head of 7-weight heifers, averaged 760 at 130.11. That was down like $6 compared to the previous week. But the biggest individual quotes and the biggest market report out of Mocan Livestock, Butler, Missouri. Jim Herzog and his boys there, they put together, they had a big long string of lightweight yearling cattle there, and they built it around them. Had about 2,700 head there, which is a good run for anybody, a good run for there. But you look at these bigger bunches of steers right here, and look those over, and those are index weight cattle there, 7 and 8 weight cattle. You see there that there was 3 loads of those heavy 7-weight steers there. Those would be yearling cattle now, and they averaged about 785 pounds at $150 smooth. And our index levels are running more around 140, so that's about $10 over. They had 2 loads of those middle 7-weight cattle, average about 753 at 155. Wow. But those 7-weight cattle there, they ended up with 612 head of those all together in the 7-weight category, and they averaged nearly 151 on all your 7-weight cattle. So awfully good sale there. Congratulations on them. They had Matt Lowry come in there and sell them. That drew a crowd and a snappy market there. But good job for Mocan Livestock in Butler, Missouri. And remember, I'm going to be gone over the Labor Day holiday weekend. Nothing going on. Got a few places that'll have a special sale here and there on Monday, but the next report that'll be kind of a wrap-up of this past week will come out Tuesday morning. So I'm off to All-American Weekend, Ruidoso, New Mexico. If you guys are around, give me a holler. But that's your feeder flash for Friday.